Hello, everyone. It's the ongoing book of Ecclesiastes study. We are getting close to the end. This will be for chapters 9 and 10. And a lot of what we read here is repetitive. It's been said before by the preacher, but he adds a few proverbs in. I think in some ways it's important to say that what he says over and over again is reinforcement of a theme of this is wisdom. So while it might be redundant, I think the effort is to say, listen to this. I'm saying it a lot because it's important. So just my take on it. So here we have chapter 9, where the preacher says that in verse 1, I reflected on all of this and concluded that the righteous and the wise and what they are doing in God's hands, but no man knows whether love or hate awaits him. No one knows the future. That's certainly true. All share a common destiny, the righteous and the wicked, the good and the bad, the clean and the unclean, those who offer sacrifices and those who do not. As it is with the good man, so it is with the sinner. As it is with those who take oaths, so it is with those who are afraid to take them. This is the evil and everything that happens under the sun. The same destiny overtakes them all. So we see again his recurring theme of everybody dies in the end and it doesn't matter. So you might wonder, where's the wisdom here? I think to some extent, the acceptance of death and the understanding that what happens in between birth and death, that's where we get to be wise or foolish. So he goes on and he says, the hearts of men are full of evil. There is madness in their hearts where they live. And afterward, they join the dead. But now this verse 4 is interesting. He says, anyone who is among the living has hope. Even a live dog is better off than a dead lion. So I like that saying. A living dog is better than a dead lion. Whoever is alive has hope. So the dead have no hope. They have nothing. So while there's life, there is hope. There's this theme. And I think that shows a certain level of wisdom. Verse 5, for the living know they will die, but the dead know nothing. They have no reward. And so he goes on in verse 7, go, eat your food with gladness, and drink your wine with a joyful heart, for it is now that God favors what you do, now that you're alive. Verse 9, enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun. For this is your lot in life and in your toilsome labor under the sun. Verse 10, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For in the grave where you are going, there is neither working nor planning nor knowledge nor wisdom. So this is a recurring theme. Enjoy life. Get what is enjoyable out of it while you can. It's not about chasing riches. It's not about chasing ego. It's about enjoying the simple things. Time with your wife, eating and drinking. That's, I think, the point here. This is wisdom, according to the preacher. And I agree. I think that when I look at this life and death theme, understanding that both are part of the way we are, our existential state, and wisdom is knowing enough to enjoy the enjoyable while we're here. Then he has in verse 11, a proverb. The race is not to the swift or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise or wealth to the brilliant or favor to the learned, but time and chance happen to them all. So chance, who knows? And that's a recurring theme also here we've seen in previous chapters in Ecclesiastes. Who knows what's going to happen? Accept what comes and make the most of it. Verse 12, moreover, no man knows when his hour will come. And then he has another proverb. As fish are caught in a cruel net, or birds are taken in a snare, so men are trapped by evil times that fall unexpectedly upon them. So a note of caution, I think. Watch out for evil times. And then he tells a story in verse 13 through 18 about a wise but humble man who saved a city from a king that was attacking it. And verse 15, nobody remembered this poor man. In verse 16, he says, wisdom is better than strength, but the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are no longer heeded. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouts of a ruler of fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. This, I think, is just a proverb. One sinner destroys much good. That's an observation. He's saying, I've seen this happen. And so some of these proverbs that he puts in here are just truisms, observations that he's seen. And we get a whole bunch of them in chapter 10, which is all proverbs of the preacher. As dead flies give perfume a bad smell, so a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. And then he goes on and he has a whole bunch of proverbs. Verse 3, even as he walks along the road, the fool lacks sense and shows everyone how stupid he is. Now, a comment about the Hebrew concept of fool. A fool is not a stupid person. A fool is ignorant and wicked. It has more to do with bad intent than ignorance. Folly is about choosing evil instead of good. That's folly to the ancient Hebrew mindset. And here clearly the preacher telling us how to be wise says, don't be like the fools who follow evil intent. And he goes in verse 6, fools are put in many high positions while the rich occupy the low ones. I've seen slaves on horseback while princes go on foot like slaves. So just, you never know what you'll see. You never know what you'll find. One day you're drinking the wine, the next day you're stomping the grapes. Just some observations from the preacher here. Whoever digs a pit might fall into it. Whoever breaks through a wall may be bitten by a snake. So just, you never know what you'll get. You could end up with something evil, so watch for it. And then here's some wisdom sayings, and I think this is some truisms that are worth thinking about. In verse 10, if the axe is dull and its edge unsharpened, more strength is needed, but skill will bring success. So if you sharpen the axe, you're going to have less work to cut through the wood than a dull axe. That's true. Having knowledge from the Boy Scouts. So, again, just a little proverb here. Verse 12, words from a wise man's mouth are gracious. And so the preacher would probably put himself in that category, saying, my words are gracious, but a fool is consumed by his own lips. At the beginning of the fool, verse 13, at the beginning, his words are folly, At the end, they are wicked madness, and the fool multiplies words. So a lot of words does not make a wise person. Saying a lot does not mean that somebody has a lot to say. And that's true. And so verse 15, 16, 17, 18, more Proverbs. A fool's work wearies him. He does not know the way to town. It's foolish to be lazy. Woe to you, O land whose king was a servant and whose princes feast in the morning. Blessed are you, O land whose king is of noble birth and whose princes eat at a proper time for strength and not for drunkenness. Again, this kind of gets back to that. There's a time for everything, a time for eating and drinking and a time for working instead of playing. If a man is lazy, the rafters sag. If his hands are idle, the house leaks. Again, the folly of indolence and laziness. And here are the last two verses in chapter 10, verse 19 and 20. A feast is made for laughter, and wine makes merry, but money is the answer for everything. I'm not sure really what that means there. In the New Revised Standard, it says, money meets every need. So I suppose if you have enough money, you can get by. That's certainly true, I suppose. And then finally, do not revile the king even in your thoughts or curse the rich in your bedroom, because a bird of the air can carry your words and a wing on the bird may report what you say. I think there's a little bit more to this than just cursing the rich or reviling the king. I think that envying the rich and envying the king, I know that's not what it says here, and that's probably not the preacher's intent, but I think that that lies more in the line of wisdom. And so here we have more Proverbs from the preacher, and then we will finish this in our next week's discussion. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.